Welcome to another episode of Ask InCred. I am your host Saugat Bhattacharya. Today we are joined by Nilanjan Chotoraj, Director, Education Loan InCred Finance, for an insightful conversation on study abroad destinations and their financial realities. Hi Nilanjan.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Same here, pleasure is mine. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey with InCred.
Sure. So I actually have an interesting journey with the education loan sector in India. I went abroad to study and faced a lot of financial difficulties. And so it was, a project that was close to my heart for a very long time. I returned to India around 2007, 2008. And the first education loan company, they got in touch with me because that's when the management was launching that platform. And, I didn't think twice. I said, this is what I have been trying to do all my life. So I jumped into it. And so, fast forward 15 years later, I have been a part of the three largest education loan platforms in India. In the process, obviously, I have learned a lot. I have had the luxury of working with really good colleagues and leaders. And also, I have in the process helped a lot of Indian students achieve their higher education dreams. So overall, it's been a very enriching and uplifting experience, I would say.
Lovely. In fact, I'm looking forward to this chat because I have two boys who are at the age where, they are now
Yeah.
planning to go and study abroad.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to learn from you. I wanted to know what are the key differences between studying in the US, UK, Europe, and other popular destinations?
Sure, that's a pretty good question. So all of these countries have obviously, something special to offer depending on what you are looking for. I must also say that most of the Indian student community that goes abroad to study actually does it for the master's or the postgraduate level courses. Now, these students are typically, once they are done with their 2-year master's, they are ready to enter the job market. They are ready to start working and earning. And so the one thing that Indian students really sort of, prioritize is if these countries allow a post-study work visa to where they can stay back in that country, gain some experience, also earn some money, perhaps repay their loans in a much easier manner. And so the good thing is most of these countries, US, Canada, UK, Germany, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, these are the main destinations where I think 85 to 90% of the students end up going to one of these countries. All of these countries do have some post-study work visa opportunities available for Indian students. So that basic checkbox is sort of marked for every student, no matter which country you want to get to. And then there are other differentiations. So cost is, for example, one. So the US cost is typically a little bit higher for sure. UK and Canada are probably a little bit below that, but then Australia is perhaps as expensive as the US.
Oh.
Yeah, and then Germany on the other hand is much cheaper. So is Ireland. So if cost is a factor for you, then all of these countries have something to offer to you, depending on what you're trying to study. That brings me to my next point, which is what are you trying to study? So the US has typically been a powerhouse in overseas education, in higher education.
Correct.
And so anything related to technology or business, finance, MBA, computer sciences and engineering, AI, US has really solid options there.
Okay.
Germany, on the other hand, not so much business, etc. But Germany is really good in engineering, automobile engineering, mechanical engineering, because that country has a history of having really good engineering processes and manufacturing also. If you take, for example, UK, I think the MBA and the finance type degrees there are slightly better than, say, the technical or engineering degrees. So in terms of which country specializes in which subject area or course, there is obviously some differentiation too between them. And then there are a little bit more secondary differentiations such as the weather. Now US is a large country. If you go to the south of the US, you will get weather like Bombay or Delhi or Calcutta there, right? But if you go north, it becomes really cold during the winters. Canada is pretty much very cold all across the geography.
Yeah.
And so weather can play a part. If you have families in those countries, if you know alumni or ex-students who have gone and studied all those countries, then that may also help you select one of these countries because you have some support there, and that actually helps you in the long term. These are some of the key differentiations between all of these countries.
Since you was talking about the US, things are changing there after Trump came into power. We see people struggling. They don't know if their visas are going to stay at that same position or not. What do you recommend? You see, I know that students always think that they go to another country, preferably the US. They study there and they will start earning there. That's a natural progression, right? I mean, that's the dream that everybody takes and goes. Do you think we're seeing that happening in the near future when we talk about US?
I think again, your questions are becoming gradually more pertinent and better. So very, very good question, I would say, given the fact that President Trump has just taken office and there is a lot of speculation and a lot of murmur about what's he gonna do. And obviously he has a very, very obvious anti-immigration stance he takes.
Correct.
However, if you read between the lines, Trump has actually never been that much against the student immigration. He actually has mentioned a few times in the past that the good brains, the solid minds that come to study in America, I am very much okay with it. He actually realizes that, a lot of America runs on this borrowed technical labor that comes in through the H-1B. A better route is F1 to H-1B and then get a job in America. He recognizes the opportunity there. He recognizes that America does need the best of minds from abroad to come up and take up these jobs or even set up companies, right? And so one of Trump's closest aides, Elon Musk, which I'm sure everybody has heard of, he's a product of this F1 H-1B system.
Correct.
Himself, right?
Correct.
If you look at Google, Microsoft, they have Indian heads running the show. Companies like Salesforce, et cetera, so many of them. They were all launched by immigrants who came to America to study. And so I do not think Trump is going to do, anything that will hurt this student community a lot because he sees value in it. What Trump is against is actually the illegal immigration that comes in typically from the southern border, from Latin American countries. These are undocumented people who are trying to get into the US. He's very much against that, and all his rhetoric is actually directed towards them, right? Now I will tell you something else. Point two is that although I don't think Trump will have a long-term, detrimental effect on students going to study in the States and then getting jobs, I do think that initially, there will be a lot of speculation and there is a sense of, unpredictability with Trump. So because of that, I think the number of students and work opportunity, H-1B visas, etc., may tank a little bit. But then our past experience shows, the data shows, that the recovery is quite strong and quite quick. So Trump is actually not against the students that come to America to study. His anti-immigration stance is more directed towards illegal immigrants, undocumented workers that typically come from South of America or other countries. So that's the immigration he's trying to stop. I don't think he's going to do too much damage to the student immigration route at all. Also, interestingly, we have been trying to map the student visa and H-1B visa numbers in America the last time Trump became president. And what we noticed is that as soon as Trump comes into power, there is obviously an effect that is basically plateaus the growth, right? The growth stagnates, right? But then in a year or two, we see that it just, the resurgence comes and then numbers start increasing again. This happened in the last Trump presidency between 2016 to 2020. We presume the same impact to happen in his next term also. So this year and next year, we may see some slowdown in student visa and work visa numbers, but I think after that, it will get back to normal pretty soon.
Lovely. That's a very good news actually for students who are aspiring to go to the US. So yeah, thanks a lot for this information.
Sure.
If you had to pick a study destination purely based on financial benefits, which country would win and why? And how does InCred help?
In terms of countries, I think it's an easy pick. After seeing, 25, 30 different countries and understanding their higher education sector and the costs and the quality, I think to answer your question, Germany wins hands down.
Okay.
Because German universities typically do not have tuition fees for any student, be it a domestic student or an international student. Now, some of the private colleges in Germany and some of the English language courses may have a fee component, but it's still much cheaper compared to the other destinations. And 90% of the other courses that are taught at public universities or German language courses, they are completely zero cost. There is no cost involved. So
Wow.
and also Germany's education system is actually very strong. When you study there, the graduation outcomes are very strong in the sense that you learn a lot. They make you work really hard. So 2-3 years of academic, hell and a lot of rigor and a lot of effort students need to put in to pass their classes and get good grades. But at the end of it, you learn a lot and you really come out as a better equipped professional. So quality is good, cost is much cheaper, so Germany, final answer.
Superb. And how does InCred help students who wants to migrate to, say Germany, for example?
Obviously, the InCred platform, we focus on overseas education. And just to take a step back, the reason that we launched the InCred Education Loan platform is that our experience showed to us that there is a need for a lender in India that prioritizes the student. It's a student-first approach. You look at how good he or she is in studies academically, and also what is the, how good is the college and the university that they are going to attend. And if those are good, we wanted to create a platform to ensure then that student gets the money, right? Money shouldn't be a factor for them to drop out of that course, especially if they are a good student and going to good colleges. That was the inspiration behind InCred. And, and I'm glad to say that in the last 8 years, we have more or less maintained that policy of putting the student first and not putting a collateral or the guarantor's finances first. Also, InCred, as a group, has been a very technology-led and a data science-based, organization. And so even in EL, we realized the need for an online platform, for a fully digitalized loan platform that students can access from anywhere in the globe. And these two reasons sort of convinced us that InCred has to have an education loan platform, and that was the, that's why we are here today. And in the last 8 years, we have obviously, approved loans over $500 million. We have funded students to attend 27 different countries.
Wow.
They are spread across about 900 plus different universities. The number of borrowers in the last 8 years has been close to 15,000 already. And also, not only are these numbers been very strong for us, the fact that a lot of these borrowers that take the money from InCred also come from middle to low income backgrounds, which means that we have been able to actually, sort of make the dream into a reality for these students. And had we not come in, uh, a lot of them would be struggling to go abroad now, right? So I think that's where InCred comes in, that we provide this fully digitalized experience with a very, very student-first approach. And so, yeah, it's been, the InCred journey has been quite strong so far, I would say.
Wow, 15,000 lives
Yeah, you know,
changed.
that is true that going abroad for a higher education, most students say is the most life-changing experience they have gone
Yes,
through. So
yes.
I do agree that we are changing the lives, and for the better, I would argue. And also, 15,000 could easily be 20,000. We had some disruptions because of COVID, because of which 2, 3 years the numbers were very
Correct,
low.
correct.
So yeah.
Lovely, lovely. So, expensive universities always worth the cost, I'm sure. But do budget friendly options offer the same career impact?
I think another very pertinent question. And so, I have had mixed feelings about this over the years. As I told you, I had financial issues trying to get myself into a more higher ranked and a better known university in the US. And so after 20 plus years of dealing with overseas admissions and colleges and costs and universities, I would say that the budget friendly options can be as strong if not better sometimes, and especially in the US. We as Indians, we always have this propensity to go for Ivy Leagues and top ranking and has to be top 5 or top 3. I think that's a little overplayed. Obviously, if you attend a Stanford or a MIT or a Carnegie Mellon or Harvard, which costs a lot, obviously you do get some benefits. But I know of dozens of lesser known universities where the learning and the infrastructure and the quality overall is as good as any. And so for example, there is a university called San Jose State University in California that many people haven't heard of, but the cost there is like less than half of what a MIT or a Stanford degree would
Really?
cost you, yeah. And the job placements and salaries are like close to 100%. There is another
Wow.
university called Portland State University in Portland, Oregon, which is a very similar story, that the costs are like half of some of the more private and exclusive universities, but at the end of the day, you learn a lot and you get a really well-paying job. And so I personally, if I was to make a choice, I would look at the return on investment angle and see how much am I investing into my degree and what am I going to walk out with. And purely from that parlance, I tend to favor this budget-friendly university a little bit more, actually.
Very insightful. Wow, wow. I think many students will be watching this podcast and making certain decisions based on our conversation. I think this is a very, very nice insight. How do cultural and academic experiences vary between these regions? And are these any underrated study destinations that offer high quality education at lower cost? As I think you just mentioned a few, if you can elaborate a little more.
Yeah, so the thing about the higher education ecosystem is that it takes decades to establish a good university, and so I would suggest the general public stay away from gimmicky offers like now this country is open for admissions,
Yeah.
go there for 1/10 the course. These typically don't work out, and so higher education, the reputation of the country or the university is for sure something that you need to focus on, and not say that I will go to some completely unknown destination that most students don't go to because it's cheaper or because now they have better visas, etc. So we have to be careful, right? And so in terms of countries, I think we again come down to the 7 or 10 main ones that we keep talking about again and again. And then within those countries, I have already sort of established that Germany costs and Ireland costs tend to be much lower. So if cost is indeed a big factor for you, then these two countries are possible options for you. At the same time, I must say that if you do want to go to the US, Canada, or Australia where the costs are higher, or UK, and you are getting admitted to your dream college or university, then don't really let go of that opportunity because of cost, because there are platforms like InCred
Yeah.
that will ensure that you get the money. Okay, so I would say that try to stay away from the non-traditional countries and universities, and stick to the more well-known destinations. Okay. Second, your question was also what are some of the cultural and other differences in these countries. So
Correct.
yes, culturally, I think all of these countries are very, very different from what we Indians are used to. In terms of education, I can tell you that most of these major destinations have a very rigorous model of higher education, and so be ready to work very, very hard, as opposed to the Indian model where it's hard to get into a university, but then very easy to, pass out or graduate from it.
Correct.
The story in most of the overseas destination is the opposite. It may be easy for you to get admitted, but it's very, very difficult to actually get good grades and graduate because it's very rigorous. And you need to be prepared to put in a lot of hard work. It's not going to be easy pickings. You go there and you don't attend classes, you are not serious about studies, and you'll get good grades. That's not going to happen. You're going to have to work really, really hard. So that's one thing that I always remind students that, you think the last 1 year of taking a loan and admission has been hard, wait till you actually start your classes. It's going to get much harder. But obviously, after a 2-year phase when your studies are done, you come out having learned a lot because you have worked so hard over a period of time, right? So this is one educational differentiation culturally that I'd like to highlight. And obviously, the Western cultures in America, Canada, Germany, and then Australia, New Zealand, all of these countries, they're quite separate from the Indian culture at a surface level, So in America, in many states, almost all of America, you hold the door for somebody when you are entering a building, especially if it's a older or a younger person. That politeness is sort of built into their culture. In India, if you do the same, you'll be holding that door for the rest of the day. People are just going to keep walking in and nobody's going to thank you, etc. So there are differences at a superficial level, but if you look deep within, the basic human elements of having a good career, having a good future, having enough money and savings for your family, ensuring that your health and your family's health are good, those basic fundamental human values are the same across all of these countries. And the last point I would like to bring in is, a little bit of a word of caution that I have seen this tendency of, and this tendency is growing of Indian students or tourists going to foreign destinations and behaving in a very wild manner as if they have come somewhere and it's their birthright to now abuse that place and do anything. Don't do that, because a lot of those things actually are illegal in that country, and you will end up in serious trouble, serious legal trouble, and then your visa gets jeopardized. All kinds of things may happen. And also, as an ambassador of India, you're not really putting the best face of India forward. You have been given admission at a great university, you have taken a loan from a good platform, you have come here to build your future and contribute to that country as well as India. So stay focused on all of that. Don't do things that will hamper your image or make it legally difficult for you to reach that dream that you have.
Correct. In fact, you said something really interesting that, the students, 90% of them, I think they do not know what they are going to face in the next 2 years of their life.
Yeah.
They just go with this intention कि मैं अब foreign जाऊंगा और बड़ा आदमी बन जाऊंगा. And when they go there, that's the first time that hits them.
Yes.
कि भाई बहुत काम है.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think all of us should know about this before we step out of this country.
Yeah.
We should know how to behave ourselves.
Yes.
And we should be ready to put in that kind of work. उसमें बहुत काम लगता है.
Yes.
I have, my best friend has passed out from a university abroad. My nephews, I've seen them work so hard,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, यहाँ पे, Indian universities, I'm not putting anyone down. I'm just saying, as friends, we help each other with projects like, अरे तू मेरा journal कर दे या, why don't
Yes.
you help me? वहाँ पे ये सब नहीं होता है.
Yeah, it's a very solid point, and I think this is something I should have brought up, but good thing you did. Things like copying from my friends, uh, you know, perhaps cheating in an exam or plagiarism. These are looked down upon heavily in the U.S. in university and outside, be it in a professional organization or be it in your university. And not only is it looked down heavily. They're going to catch you and you're going to face some very, very severe repercussions. So, culturally, we tend to be very easy about some of these things in
Correct.
India. Just know that these kind of unethical things are very, very dangerous concepts to continue in the abroad country that you'll end up in.
Yeah, yeah. What should a student consider when choosing between taking a loan in their home country versus a study destination?
I think for Indian students, it makes a lot of sense to take the loan from a Indian lender in rupees. If you take it from a foreign lender, it's usually a dollar loan, dollar denominated loan. And a very easy reason for that is the Indian rupee, is weakening against a dollar very rapidly. It has reached like 86 or 87,
Yeah.
and it's going to continue. And so, if you take a loan in Indian rupees and you are after the course working overseas, earning in dollars on euros or pounds, it becomes much easier for you to pay the loan back because you send lesser dollars per rupee of loan repayment back to India. So from that angle, it just makes tremendous sense to take an Indian rupee loan because the Indian rupee is going to weaken every year from now on. And it's going to become easier and easier for that borrower to pay the rupee loan back because they're earning in dollars.
Correct.
So just this point should trump, as in it should supersede all the other advantage of a dollar loan. Now, who is the dollar loan for? The dollar loan is so the dollar lending platforms typically do not take a guarantor or a co-signer to the loan. And so, if you don't have anybody to support you or help you, then the dollar loan model may work for you. Also, a lot of the dollar loan companies give Indian students a rate of interest of say 5-6% to 10-11%, and a lot of the Indian borrowers think that is like a really lower rate of interest compared to the 10 or 12% I'm getting in India. However, based on this foreign exchange fluctuation, what you ultimately end up paying, the difference is not that much between a 6-7% dollar loan or a 10-11% Indian rupee loan. And so for some specific circumstances, a dollar loan product makes sense. Otherwise, I'd strongly recommend to go with the Indian rupee denominated loan from an Indian lender.
So dollar में कमाओ और rupees में EMI भरो.
Yes,
I
you
think-
have to be smart in this world. So I think that is a smart move.
So what key financial mistakes do students make when planning to study abroad, and how can they plan better? And how does InCred help them plan better?
Yeah, sure. So InCred has some processes that will let the student, get a loan sanction letter even before their admission is confirmed. So, if the student starts the admissions process, the application, etc., to colleges, and the loan process at the same time, and InCred is able to give them a loan offer letter without this secured admission, the student gets a lot of peace of mind in terms of how much money backing do I have, and so based on that they can filter out their universities in a much better manner. So obviously InCred has some processes and programs that help students budgeting their cost of higher education, which becomes a very, very fundamental and a very, very basic consideration when you're going to study abroad. You need to make sure that you are applying to universities that will not only appeal to you in terms of academics, but that you can afford through your own funds or through loan funds or a combination of both, right? And so we are more than happy to help these students. We do have dedicated, counselors and agents that get in touch with the students and families once they inquire with InCred. And we help them through this process because every case is unique and every case needs special attention. So we will actually handhold you and guide you through the process and let you borrow the optimal loan amount. Which brings me to my next question is you have to budget right. You cannot under budget, you cannot over budget. I see a tendency these days of a lot of students to over budget. Like their cost is say 40 lakh, but they're like, I will take a 60 lakh loan. I don't see how that helps because you don't want to be overburdened with loans at such an early stage in your career. So you need to borrow and utilize the amount that you need to finish your course and not anything extra to pay for your luxuries or extra trips, etc. And so the optimal financial planning, I think, is very, very critical and a point that is often missed out by the students because they simply focus on the application and the entrance exams and the English test scores, etc. But I think taking up the finances along with the other academic processes at the same time, and then inquiring with lenders like InCred that can actually give you a loan approval letter even before admission, etc. I think all of that करने से student का जो cycle रहेगा, it will be much easier and much more result oriented.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nilanjan. I think this was like really insightful for me also and for the audiences, I'm sure. Thank you so much for coming. And let's do this once again. in the
It's
near
my
future.
pleasure. I will be more than happy to come back here. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you for joining us. We'll be back with another engaging episode soon. Stay tuned for more insights and don't hesitate to share your thoughts or request for more information on any of the topics we have explored. We appreciate your engagement and look forward to sharing more informative content with you in our next episode. Please subscribe to our channel and feel free to comment or request additional information on any of the topics we have discussed. See you next time.